Hello and welcome to this Thrive stream for 0.8.2 release. Usually we have more than just one person on the stream, but apparently this time it is just me and the music bot. Usually at least like one other person joins at the last minute, but apparently today that didn't happen. So I guess I can introduce myself. I'm Hyhlainen, the lead programmer for Thrive. And with me, I only have the music bot here. It's going to provide some background music. Hopefully someone else will join at some point. Actually, I forgot one thing. I need to know that stream is now going. So usually we start these streams off by going over the release that just went out, and well, I guess I'll do that. One else here. So 0.8.2 wasn't as feature rich as the previous release, but we still got quite many features that had been waited on for many years, like the current system is now fully done. With the currents now affecting the cells, and there's nice visual particles to I had to moderate chat a bit. Visual particles that show the current, so we can now make them affect the gameplay, which they do. So now cells can float around on the currents. For example, if you are a plant type cell, you can just chill around and get pushed around to save energy from movement. Hello. We got Mr. 42, who is part of our outreach team, joining the stream.
Hey, that's me.
Yes, hello. Your mic volume is a bit low, so maybe you can try to turn it up if you...
Let me get another one. Hello, Bert.
Hello. We got Io Sono as well, who is a programmer.
How is it going? Is everything good?
Yeah. I was just starting the stream, and I noticed that I was alone.
Oh yes.
Usually
I
at
noticed
least
that too, well.
Usually at least someone
fair.
joins like in the last 5 minutes before the stream, but this time I suppose it is the first 5 minutes of stream that some people
Oh
joined.
well. I joined.
Nice.
It's good to have some people here. Anyway, I was starting on the first thing on the stream, which is covering what happened in the 0.8.2 release.
Oh.
And hello, Hexapod, we've got one more person.
Hey, Hexapod.
Hi.
They are a graphics person on the team. Okay, maybe now I can continue reading the patch highlights. So, besides the current system, we got more patch events like global glaciation and meteor impact events, which should shake up the gameplay a bit. Especially if you are a plant and the entire planet freezes over, you are going to have not very good time. So that's going to be interesting, hopefully. And then, of course, there was the tutorial rework, which ate up quite a bit of the time for this release. So I basically entirely redid the tutorial flow for the game, like hiding some elements and other stuff that is not needed until progressing further to make the new player experience better. And of course, bioluminescence, I thought that I would finally do that because it's been in the organelle list for like 10 years. So I was like, I have a few more days to put in some more features, and at least the visual side of the bioluminescence organelle was pretty easy, so I did that. More gameplay effects might happen for it at some point, but at least now it's in the game, so the organelle list saying it's coming soon is no longer lying. And besides those new features, there were, of course, a ton of smaller changes and bug fixes, and I did stuff like I added resolution scaling options and different anti-aliasing modes, and upgraded the engine version and fixed a ton of GUI bugs and so on. So basically, those background changes that needed to happen at some point were made now, so there weren't as many big flashy new features for this release as the previous one. Does anyone else want to highlight what recent work they've been doing, or?
Well, I just simply designed the icons for the meteors and for other events. So there wasn't much work from my side.
Yeah, they are still pretty important parts.
Yeah.
I'll show this image in a bigger size, that we got a bunch of new meteor events and each has a unique icon.
Well, let's see if I can find those.
So I haven't done very much this time, unfortunately. I spent more than a month with no computer. I've still done some things. Added in a larger sulfur chunk. I reworked the iron metabolism a bit. Some people might be disappointed by it. It's not able to get kind of overpowered the way that mitochondria and so on can now. But yeah, it's more balanced in some ways, but I'm not entirely sure if it might need strengthening a bit now. Also, sort of slightly increased the amount of ice and made it so that they all the ice chunks should properly dissolve now. And rework the model for hydrogenase. I'm currently working on a model for the eukaryotic version of that, hydrogenosome. I don't know if that's going to need more work or sort of how long it'll take to get that finished. But yeah, I was hoping to get a lot more done this time than I've been able to, but yeah, I'll be able to do a lot more in the near future now.
It's good. See, we got all of the icons here, so. Are separate images. I think, well, hopefully they are big enough to see well on stream.
I think the icons work quite well for the meteors, and the description for each one is quite useful in indicating which compounds and chunks will be added. I think that works quite well.
Right, I guess that's enough talk about the new release for now. Now, guess we can then move on to the priority questions and seeing what people in chat have or what they want to ask. Let's get priority questions on stream. So again, we have just one dear VIP patron, Doom Lightning, who has asked a bunch of questions. The first question is, with the events coming out on the patches, what is your approach to choosing what goes in and what doesn't in terms of what events will be in the game? Is it a technical, artistic, or technological consideration? I think, unfortunately, Patrick, who has been making most of the new events, is not here, so we can't get the answer. But I think Deus made a list of potential events, and some were picked from that. And I think mostly it's like the effort of or the ratio of effort to how nice and varied the event can make gameplay in terms of choosing the events. And I think we'll probably try to have like at least one or two more events to fill out the event system at least. But I don't know how excited other devs are about the events, so we might get a lot more if that's the case. I guess no one else wants to comment, so let's go to question 2. There's something odd about the multi-cell stage editor regarding organelles. The presence of neurons as an organelle is a bit odd to me. That being it's a cell itself, is this something that stems from your consideration, or is something temporary until a better solution is found for this? I think this might be an effect of the translation of the game. Because I know that Doom Lightning isn't a native English speaker, so maybe they play the game in a different language where the action organelle is translated into neuron. So this is probably just an effect of the translation, and the translators for whichever language that causes it should try to rename the action in the translation to not be equal to neuron, that language. Then question number 3. With the arrival of biofluorescence after so long with a coming soon label, are there any gimmicks you'd like to have / add to the game that could be something more cosmetic or have minor functions that doesn't exactly affect the gameplay itself? And anyone else have any comments on this?
Well, I
Currently,
did
no.
post. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did post some concepts for it, but that would only really see it working well when we implement eye spots and kind of coming up with a way that we could get bioluminescence and the eye spots to kind of work together in a way that would kind of make both of them make some sense. Although there'd need to be quite a lot sort of added to get the functionality to actually work, and then getting the AI to work with it and so on. But yeah, I'm not too sure what other people's opinions on it were. But I mean, there are definitely ways that we could get more functionality out of it.
I was wondering if we could have like 2 separate colors for one cell. Like you can see it in some species of AI or like auto evo, if you know what I mean. Not really. Yes, so I sent it somewhere.
I'm not really sure what you mean.
So like cells that are generated with auto evo can someone spawn with 2 different colors. So for example, with green membrane and yellow spikes or something like this.
Okay, you meant like that.
Yeah, so I think it would be nice as a visual bar to allow players to customize this as well. To have sort of 2 colors instead of 1.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it would make more sense to have the default color probably be kind of a greeny blue, and at the very least allow players to kind of choose their color from the kind of the green to blue spectrum. I don't really know how broad the color spectrum of kind of single-celled luminescent species are in real life, but certainly kind of green and blue should be doable.
Yeah.
Yes, that's everyone. So next question. In terms of the events you've added to the game, which one is your favorite? Anyone have any favorite events?
I think meteor impacts are really interesting because they can really change their environment a lot, especially those with sulfur or radioactive. I'm not sure if they're in game. I didn't see anyone finding them so far, but I think radioactive meteor impact can be easily number 1 for me.
I think it
And
should
I
be
did
in the game.
I did have a radioactive one in one patch, but then I didn't actually notice any radioactive rocks, but I didn't go around it for that long.
Okay.
Well, the rocks should spawn, so if they don't, then some kind of bug with the event system.
I'd say my favorite event would have to be the glaciation, when it's kind of covering most of the patches. It's yeah, something that it can be hard to get away from, and it forces you to make some difficult choices.
Okay, so that was the favorite events. Then question 5. How do you envision the game running an evolutionary arms race in the later stages of the game? I hope we can make it work somehow. Hopefully with the mission system, it will be plausible to compute such a thing, but I don't know for sure before we actually get there. Anyone else have any thoughts, or do we move on?
Yeah, I think that in theory, the kind of system that we've got now should be applicable to very different situations, and kind of evolution in different things, including kind of an arms race in later society stages and so on.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Just later in
exactly
the
how
game,
that would
there's
work,
going to
obviously,
be way more different options that the species can take. So we'll see if the
Mm.
system is stretched beyond its current limits, or what do we need to do.
yeah.
Then next question. Will you add navigation by external factors in the early stages in the future? Example, magnetic navigation, navigation by stars, or environmental anchors. At least to me, this seems like not a very critical feature, so probably this won't make it to the roadmaps of any kind. So only if someone really wants this feature, it's going to and makes it themselves, then I guess that's the only way we would see it. And then last question from Doom Lightning. How do you imagine that NPC phototrophic autotrophs, or usually called plants, will evolve in the later stages and can affect the player's behavior? Whether he chose to be an animal, a fungus, a plant, or a collection of cells that became a kind of slime mold. I guess this is another auto-evo question, and well, it's unfortunate that we don't have any of the auto-evo experts here, like I think we did have last stream. But the way I see this happening is that we want to make so that auto-evo creates all plants as well as other species. So basically all the plants that other species depend on will be generated by auto-evo and affected by selection pressures. So I see this as being a thing that plants evolving will impact the species that depend on them. And I guess that's the 7 questions. Did we have any chat questions? Did anyone look in the chat yet? Yeah, unfortunately, this is not a team summoning stream.
Will there be more multicellular development by the newbie one? I hope so, because yeah, we have great plans for multicellular stage.
At at least once Microbe stage is complete, and if we haven't run out of money, then there will be at least some multicellular development.
Yeah. And it's getting closer with each day and each release. Yep.
Yeah, I have been starting to kind of come up with some concepts for multicellular and sort of how it could work, but yeah, it would need a lot of feedback from the development team to kind of get an idea of how workable any of it would be. Really, it's all very nebulous at the moment.
All right, then let's go to the normal pre-stream questions that everyone was able to ask. We have first asking questions. First one is, do you still feel like 1.0 is doable before Q3 of this year is over? And I say kind of not really, unless we get like a miracle amount of volunteers during the summer break helping out with the game. I think we kind of maybe can do all the features by end of Q3, but I think we will want to at least one polishing release. So like with release, probably it's around end of Q3, like something like 0.9 point something, and then one last 1.0 release for this year before Christmas, once we have polished up some of the major problems still in the Microbe stage, to make a really good and polished experience that we are happy to call basically done. And apparently their second question is that are more patch events planned been added? And I think we talked about this before already, but I guess I could say that I suppose like if we are completing the roadmap and no one else has added any more events, I think I'll need to add at least one event to like be able to call the events feature done. So at least one new patch event is likely to be made before 1.0. Then let's look at chat again. Is there anyone who has asked any interesting questions in chat?
I'm not seeing many questions. There is a question about underwater civilization, if you want to answer this.
Yeah, let's not answer that one. So no questions. So someone asked how many years has it been now, and guess it's mandatory time to post the project history wiki page where everyone can read it and figure out for themselves how long it's been. For project history page, then I guess another forum question. This I think we might be able to answer. So Kefcore asks, in the website I have noticed that the disturbance, which was the unofficial mascot for Thrive for years, has been discarded with a vaguely different mascot that looks like the disturbance but isn't. Why did that happen? Who is this new figure called, and is it from copyright/licensing issue to prepare for the full 1.0 release? or is it time to put the past behind? And I think we have Mr. 42 here who can answer these questions.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, I think we had a problem with using the disturbance because the person who actually designed it didn't really have permission to use it in commercial sense, and so we had to come up with a new mascot or just a representative, and then we ended up with Hexaquill. It truly takes a lot of inspiration from disturbance, as you can see, and I'm not sure if there is much to tell about it.
Well, I guess maybe these images will help people decide what it is. And maybe I'll just quickly comment on the reason. And well, the reason is that, like Mr. 42 said, that we are no longer in contact with the original creator of the disturbance. So if we wanted to use it for anything like making mascot plushies or other merch items, like we couldn't like safely do that because we don't like really have permission. So that's why we kind of are trying to slowly phase out the disturbance as the primary Thrive mascot. Try to see if any other new creature designs would stick. But the reason why the main website was replaced was that basically Mr. 42 made that image and basically bothered me about using it on the new website. So I thought that as we are just switching out the website, like might as well try a new creature in the sidebar look. And so yeah, it's in the sidebar for now. But the disturbance has not been like deleted fully. Like it takes a few clicks if I would want to like swap it back out for some time.
So yeah, disturbance is still among us, still lives in our heart.
Well, it's also still living on the website, but it has the active checkbox unchecked, so it doesn't show up anywhere. And then, we already answered the second question from Kevco, that what's the idea behind the new mascot design and how did you come up with it? I guess the answer was that, well, Mr. 42 took some inspiration from the disturbance and just made something that looked nice.
Yeah. I also tried to make it less human-like, because in my opinion, disturbance looked a little too much like a human, without a head and just extra limbs. So I tried to go with more worm-like or something more alien design.
Do you have any thoughts about the specific details of it, like how big it is, what environment it lives in, what it eats?
I saw someone telling on the forums that it might feed on disturbance, but I mean, it might be a filter feeder, maybe it's a grazer, maybe it's something that eats small, like crabs or something like this. But I don't really want to tell too much about it because I think it's also important for community to sort of make up the lore for it or some details.
Definitely people at least have had quite a bit of fun debating whether the disturbance lives underwater or above water.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I see a chat question that is pretty nice. So there's Vladimir K asking, what is the biggest challenge for the dev team currently? And well, I guess like the primary challenge is that we are trying to finish the microbe stage this year, no longer adding more scope and features and stuff, but just focusing on completing it. And the second hardest challenge or underlying challenge is that we need more funding to continue current pace. Basically, we have some buffer money, but for the past bit over a year, we've gotten less money from Steam and Patreon than it costs to have one full-time programmer on the game. So we cannot maintain the current pace indefinitely without getting some more patrons or new people finding about Thrive and then buying it on Steam. So letting other people know about Thrive or anything like that will help Thrive develop.
I think this comment is way too perfect. Okay, so another question from the chat. If you release 1.0, will you still add more things to Microbial stage, or will it be finished? So what do you think?
Anyone want to give the standard answer? This gets asked quite a bit, but I guess no one else knows it. So basically, once the microbe stage is done, in quotation marks, our official focus will move on to multicellular stage, and at that point, like we as a team will focus on multicellular stuff. But if someone from the team or outside, as Thrive is an open source game, wants to still do micro features, like we are not going to stop them. So as long as someone sees some problems or missing features from the microbe stage, they can be added, but like the primary development focus will be on multicellular. And well, ultimately, I guess we'll see once we are in multicellular stage that if such people show up that want to work on earlier stages or not.
It's also the case that there will be overlap between the stages, so things that are kind of adding new gameplay in the microbe stage will also affect the multicellular stage. So it's possible that some things we add in intending for them to be in multicellular could also be adding stuff to the microbe stage as well.
That's definitely true. So yeah, it's a bit of a special situation how the microbe and multicellular are linked. But I guess once we reach macroscopic, then the development impact will be lesser if someone still wants to do microbe or multicellular features while the team is working on macroscopic already.
Yeah. But I have had some ideas for things that I'd like to add that I doubt will be implemented before we get to 1.0. So I'm planning for the next release to get in forgetting the name now, nematocysts. So basically a little sort of microscopic harpoon essentially, which I'd probably look at eventually having as a replacement for the current toxin firing system. I was kind of considering looking at having the toxins kind of do more of a sort of slow spread rather than a kind of sort of magic bullet of toxins. But the nematocyst would be basically doing the same thing, and then looking at having that upgradable to use the toxins, and that would be the kind of the basic implementation of it. But what I'd like to have long term is being able to have it as a kind of a harpoon, and actually being able to pull in prey cells, which would make a huge difference in terms of the kind of the variability of gameplay and that kind of thing. But it would need quite a few new features to be added before that could be implemented, and I really don't see that as being very likely at all before 1.0 is released.
Definitely sounds like quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to go now. So thank you for having me, and yep, bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
being on the stream. Then, I guess, forum questions again from Gas96. What are y'all most excited for the rest of development of the Microbe stage and maybe multicellular? I guess Hexapod answered that. Hello.
Hello?
We have a terrorist joining who might not have a mic. We are currently answering a question what we are most excited about the remaining Microbe stage features or multicellular.
I think that... can I answer the question, Tal?
Yeah, go ahead.
In my opinion, the most exciting features that we can add to the Microbe stage that can make the environment more lively, I think, could basically be something to make the game much more closer to real biology, in my opinion. We are very close, we are very close to it, but we are not exactly a 1-1 replica, which is good because any game has to have its functionality. It has to have, a team, and it has to be fun, so making all this stuff fit in one solution is very complicated. But I'm mostly excited about balancing the game, with features that are actually real, like even the shapes of the microbe. We are working very hard to make them, like we did with the membrane update, HH, and also what we discussed with the absorbing mechanism. I think that if we work around that kind of path, and we make something that is closer to the real thing while keeping it fun and playable, we can probably make some very well around that stage and prepare for the multicellular, which is far more complex. In my opinion, multicellular is the most complex stage of try to develop, because there is still there are a lot of theories about how it happened in Earth's environment, uh, and but it's really difficult to make it translated to a game, in my opinion. So that's my consideration about the question.
Thanks. Yeah, there's definitely quite many difficult features left to make in Drive's future. And well, I guess that the environment being more lively is a roadmap item, but I guess we'll see how much work will actually go into marking that item done. Because if it falls on me, then I might need to cut quite many corners to be able to fit that in with all of the other roadmap items in time.
Yeah, I would really like to see the kind of background and the kind of background/foreground terrain becoming a thing. But yeah, I'm not really sure how much work would actually be involved in that, and I definitely wouldn't be able to sort of program all of it.
Yeah, the patch static terrain stuff has been kind of slow cooking for quite a while. I guess we'll see what ultimate form that will take relatively soon. It is on the Microbe roadmap. Anyway, I think that's about enough talk about that question. Then the second one from Cass96 is how did everyone end up joining this project and first hearing about it? I guess I can start and share my story again, that I was kind of bored and looking for an open source project to contribute to improve my programming skills with the time I had. So I went looking on Reddit, and there was this, I think it was Game Dev Classifieds, where I happened to see a Thrive ad for joining the team, and it just so happened that the custom engine tech stack was basically same as my custom engine, so I was immediately interested in that, and I did a little bit of engine work for Thrive, and then later on I fully joined the team, and I've been here ever since. Anyone else have any cool story about joining?
For me, it was basically one of Oliver's videos. I think I found his channel through looking at philosophy videos, and then thought, oh, this quite cool. Looked at some of his other stuff, and then found the one for Thrive. I forget what it was called. The evolution of the game. And then yeah, took a look and was sort of hooked pretty much straight away.
I just saw an interesting chat comment from Crovea, and well, if their name is accurate, then Crovea was one of the early Thrive programmers. So pretty cool if they are here in chat. I guess they are, well, I don't really know how to pronounce JJ Onge. That's harder to say, but anyway, I guess, well, we did ditch the ECS architecture for a bit, and well, I guess in hindsight that was a bit silly, because, well, eventually we changed back to an ECS architecture, so right now we have an ECS system back in Thrive, so the game is again made with an ECS architecture. Well, I guess we could have avoided a bit of a detour by keeping the ECS architecture going the entire way through, but I guess we have seen the light again that is ECS. Yes, no one else wants to talk about how they joined the team.
Oh,
Did we have any
I could share my story because it's very funny.
Sure.
Actually, I've been looking at Thrive for like, I don't know, it was 2012, I think, something like that. And I just saw some random hosts on YouTube. I think they were made by Oliver, I think. And I was like, what is this, because I was into sport a lot, when I was a kid, and I really liked the concept of the game. And mm, I visited the website, but I didn't know how to program, so I was like, there is no, at that time, so I was saying, there is no way I can join, even if I want to. So I just was in the sideways. I often kept track uh, of the development of the game, but I didn't have any means, of contributing. So I stayed in the sideways for a while, and then after a few years, yeah, I decided to join the project because I during the well, after high school, I already went straight for game development, and I think it was a nice thing to venture finally into doing something, learning by doing, and that's all I joined pretty much. But yeah, Oliver pretty much inspired me to get into Tribe, pretty much. He brainwashed me.
Okay, so another victory for Oliver. I guess I'm the only one on the team who hasn't been inspired by Oliver.
Oh, his take on Tribe has been really interesting. I think that the video where he explained Tribe, and he went into details with evolution and explaining all his venture, I think it was, and it's very interesting, even evolution was a really, really cool concept, and it's such a shame that it turned out to be mm, just a concept, not even a concrete game or a touch demo or something like that. It just went on like a trend and it died pretty quickly, and that's super sad in my opinion.
All right, thanks for sharing, everyone. I think there wasn't any new chat questions again, so let's take another forum questions from NNAC. First question, what do you think is next after 0.8.2 than any bug fixing update? Is it finally time of 0.9 or will there be a 0.8.3? And I'm surprised it took this long for us to get a question about what's next. And usually we preemptively answer this. So I guess now's the time of the stream to answer what is next. I remember I need to post a release planning thread. So, but I see they cleverly remembered to say that not a bug fix update, because I think in about 2 weeks there's going to be a 0.8.2.1 bug fix. One to fix all the cell guidance lines again being black. For some reason the engine has again decided that that feature needs to break again. So I guess I need to somehow try to redo that differently so that it cannot keep breaking randomly whenever it wants. And also that feature, or rather that release, will be when the Mac version will become officially supported and will be on Steam. But anyway, I expect the next actual release to be 0.8.3. because there's still the planet generation / customization on the roadmap, and that's probably not going to get done. So, but other Microbe roadmap items, and probably by the time 0.8.3 is done, there's not going to be many of the roadmap items that I think are easy for me left. So basically, once 0.8.3 is done, just the planet customization and final polishing, as well as the features I need help from other people, like the terrain system and other stuff like that, will be left. But what is everyone else planning on working on next?
Well, in my opinion, regarding Microbe stage, I would really like to work on the stuff that we discussed about, with the cell absorption working the way that it showed, it works for you. It's very tough to do that, but it could be interesting. But other than that, because that would add a lot of complexity to the game, even working, or if it is not being worked already, maybe even making a self-division animation, like a proper one, could be also a thing I would like to enter with. Otherwise, I think I could just work on bug fixes and stuff like that, because thankfully in this time I also found a job, so yeah, time is very much not an issue, but it's, well, I don't have as much time as I had when I joined the project. Plus, I recently got married too, which obviously leads some commitment, obviously, and there's that. But sure enough, I would like to be more incisive in the next stage of development too, because I did my part, with the cloud compound, but I wish I could be more incisive, during this development, and that's all for me.
I think everyone will like any features or bug fixes you can find the time to make. Basically, the number one obstacle to drive development is either having a job or school. So if we
Thanks, Carl.
eliminate all jobs and schools from the world, then drive will get done super fast.
Oh yes, that's true.
Then the second question from that same person was that out of the unimplemented features on the wiki, what are people most excited about, and does anyone have any favorites, or did we already? I guess we've already kind of talked about, but does anyone want to say anything else about the upcoming features?
Favorite upcoming feature that we have?
Specifically from the roadmap items. I guess I can post the roadmap items in the link in chat if anyone wants to check what we are still planning.
I think that, well, in my opinion, the planet customization. Like, that's my favorite feature to have it be implemented in the game, because it's such a game changer.
I'm still hoping that someone else will have time to implement that, because if that falls on me, then I'm really dreading how much
Oh well,
work I'll need to
that's
do.
a lot of work. Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think there's any really big items that I'm excited about. I'm scared about that planet customization. And well, I guess the roadmap is like technically split into two: the items that I think I can do myself easily, and the items I want help with. So I'm most looking forward to other people helping me with the difficult stuff I don't think I can in a time-efficient manner work on myself.
Oh yeah, that's super big, really big, you know. And that's not just that, you know, because after you are able, someone will be able to do that. They will also have to make the entire solar system, you know, because I think that also comes into the picture. And yeah, that makes things a lot far difficult, you know, because as we planned it, I think you also have to set how much this, what kind of star is in the solar system, and the lights of the planet. Yeah, that's going to be a very difficult feature to implement, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's many difficulties, but I think luckily for the microbe stage we can mostly just go with kind of simplified calculations for things like that.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Then I guess we just accidentally answered Dragon King's first questions. First question, which is what else do the devs have to add before microbe stage is complete? And I just posted the release roadmap link, which has all of the stuff actually. You know, browser is a bit cut off, so I can't really show all of the items, but we have quite many items still left, and if you are interested, you can check that link. And I'll need to remember or today to remove the completed items from the roadmap so we can see what the 0.8.3 situation is and what's already done, and we don't need to worry about it. I think the roadmap will quite soon will look quite empty. And then we have a second question from Dragon King. Do we have the resources and funding to get past version 1.0? And if you mean past like 1.1, then I'd say pretty much definitely, but do we have enough funding to release 2.0? I'd say that we just about don't, unless we get some more funding from somewhere. So basically, if even one big YouTuber would play Thrive this year, we would be like sorted out, or like streamers or something like that. Basically, having more people hear about Thrive is like the best way for us to get more support, with more patrons joining or people doing a one-time support for us on itch.io or Steam. So I guess the alternative is that more volunteers join the team to make up for the loss of, like, for example, if we run out of money and I no longer can work on Thrive full time, we need quite many more new volunteers to be able to put out the same number of new features and bug fixes in each release. I'll post a link if there's anyone who has game dev skills, or maybe is a former Thrive developer, and wants to get back to the Thrive development, this page on our website there's all the information on how you can help out Thrive or apply to be on the team if you have game development skills. And well, of course, if you have programming skills, you can head on over to our GitHub and clone the repository and do a new feature or fix a bug and then send that to us without having to first apply or anything like that, if you just want to casually help us out a tiny bit. Anyway, that was the usual blog about joining the team. Has anyone been looking at the chat questions? Is there anything? I'm seeing, open the chat. I guess we have one more forum question. Looks like we didn't have that many forum questions this time. So Xenomorphian asks, could you give a short progress recap for the past 2 years? I stopped paying close attention to development and looks like a lot has changed. That's certainly a pretty big task. Anyone up for trying that?
We have a question on the YouTube chat.
Yeah, I just saw that. Well, let me just scroll back. Maybe 2 years ago is 5.0.6.1. Going by the release note, we got pulling Cilia upgrade. We got general organelle upgrade framework. We got the news feed in the game, which we actually fixed in 0.8.2 to work on our new website. Then we got Auto Evo updates. And apparently the further prototypes are less than 2 years old, so that's actually a big change if someone hasn't tried for many. 0.6.3 was the release where we added all of the stage prototypes. Then we got a massive refactoring of the game to an ECS system architecture, which improved the game performance a lot. We improved performance further in 0.6.5. We got Fog of War on the map and organelle unlocks feature. Then we updated to Godot 4. That took time. Then what? This. We got endosymbiosis, we got day-night cycle, toxin customization, more GUI features in the editor to see stuff. Then we got the skin in the convolution surfaces way for macroscopic prototype. We got new Auto Evo algorithm that is based on missions that should be much better. Because each release has added way more random microbe stage, small features and improvements. Then we got the dynamic environments. So the game now starts off with no oxygen. It comes from photosynthesizers. Then we finish the 0.7.x roadmap items with new editor features and GUI improvement. Then we got redone organelle graphics and membrane graphics, and the membrane is now actually 3D. Environmental tolerances, radiotrophy food source, thermosynthesis full implementation. Then we split the stages into so that we have multicellular and macroscopic rather than early multicellular and late multicellular. And I guess those are the highlight features for the past 2 years. And of course this 0.8.2 we got new patch events and water currents and bioluminescence finally. A plethora of smaller GUI tweaks, etc. that were in basically every release. Reading all of the patch notes for like the past 2 years, like it would take a really long time. Anyway, there was a chat question about what was the hardest feature. What was the hardest thing to implement in this update? Does anyone else want to talk about this?
I literally just, came back, like
yeah, I suppose you didn't manage to get in any big work for this update.
Unfortunately not.
Well, I guess that might be the hardest thing is that like once you get something working, then you need to like polish it up and fix all of the like corner case problems. And that takes surprisingly long compared to the initial implementation. That's always a hard thing in programming.
Yeah.
And I guess so. Hexapod had the issue of computer exploding or whatever it was. So couldn't do much. For me, I guess the hardest thing was that there were so many problems reported after the last release, and then the tutorial entire rework was brought up, and I was quote unquote forced to do that. So like I was like constantly almost each week I got a new set of tasks thrown to the start of my to-do list, so I bounced around a bunch and did a ton of minor features and stuff. So so that's why this release didn't have that many like headline major big features, because I was doing a ton of small fixing all over the place, and I also needed to do some new website key features ASAP to get things working relatively well there. There's still some rough edges in our dev blog editing workflow, but they aren't like critical blockers right now. And I guess then we already answered Xenomorphian's second question, that what we are going to like work on next. So I guess that completes the forum questions. Well, there weren't that many this time as last time, but
we got a question on YouTube by Super Samurai 0303. I think I can answer him just by YouTube, or because he say, is there something that I can do to help? pretty much, with the development.
So sorry, I was assuming you read that Hollow question, but I think you were reading someone else's question.
Oh, on YouTube. It's the last one on the chat.
Super Samurai. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we can send in the form, I think.
Yeah, we just went over that. Well, as Thrive is open source, like if you have programming skills, you can head over to our GitHub to see if you can help fix some easy bug or do some new feature, or depending on your skills, if you have some kind of portfolio to show your game dev skills, you can apply to join the team, or you can come talk on our community forums about fleshing out some ideas, for example. Actually, I'll post one more wiki page. We have a specific page about how to help Thrive, and it has info on it. For example, if you don't have game dev skills, like you can tell other people about Thrive.
Oh yeah, even translation work is really good, you know. It helps us a lot.
Yeah, especially whatever language Doom Lightning was playing that needs some neuron renaming. Oh hey, we have Deus.
Those here.
Hello? Can you hear me properly?
Hey.
Yes?
Your
Hello?
Just about here.
mic sounds a bit bad, but
Oh man. Okay, 1 second.
but technically we can hear you.
Sounds like you're underwater. You're not underwater, are you?
No. How about now? Hello?
That
Sounds pretty normal.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay. I think I might be delayed. I'm join in a few seconds, like 5 minutes or so. Until then, hey guys, thank you for coming to Thrive. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Right? Yeah, I guess we'll see Deus again a little bit. In the meantime, I saw another question from the chat about from Builder Boy about is there a way to increase the game speed past the 2x if our PC can handle it? And well, sadly, not really. There's just the 2x speed, as I didn't want to like overly complicate the feature, so I just made it a simple. And well, a lot of the gameplay and, for example, the animations aren't speed. So I think 2 times speed was pretty easy to add, but like even if the speed selector needs to go way higher, I think that's going to like show quite many problems with stuff. So that's why I didn't make it a feature to make the game go even faster. Maybe in the future something might be. I think the 2 times speed is already pretty nice feature, and it was like really quick to do, so that's why it was added to the game. And we have question from Domin to ATR, which is what do you need most to speed up development of Thrive. And well, basically there's two ways. Either we get more volunteers, and basically the bottleneck is in feature implementation, so we need more volunteer programmers, quite a lot more. And well, we had a lot more programmers. We would need also programmers who are willing to review each other's work, because right now I'm almost the only one who ever reviews others' work. So we would need to have more people who are willing to sit down and read each other's code and be like totally baffled, like why is this written like this? This is like doesn't make any sense. And other reactions like that to in someone else's code and then suggesting ways to improve the architecture and refactor things to match the Thrive style guide. And well, I know that that's pretty annoying, so not many volunteer programmers really want to do that. So that's a potential issue with having a bunch more volunteer programmers, that there might not be enough reviewing resources with that. Because otherwise the quality of the code base or the game buggings will go up if we don't review work going in well enough. And that might cause future issues. So that was the first way we get more volunteer programmers on our GitHub. And the second is that we get a lot more money, because right now we are like pretty close, actually, maybe something like 80% towards the goal of being able to afford a full-time developer. So we basically need to more than double the current financial support coming in from Steam, Patreon, etc. To be able to afford a second developer. But that could speed up development a ton, because full-time developers have way more time to work on Thrive than volunteer. But obviously that would need a huge increase in the financial resources of the project. Like Hexapod answered in the text chat the question, do we play Thrive a lot or just develop it? I guess shortly for me, I mostly develop it, and when I play Thrive, I either am playtesting some change I made or some change someone else made to make sure they didn't accidentally add in new bugs.
Sometimes I stream Thrive, when I was doing the compound stuff last summer. I actually played it when I was staying at my wife's house, Leslie. So yeah, I play sometimes. I played sometimes, but I mostly developed on it lately.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal once you've been a Thrive developer quite long. Unless you're like
yes.
dedicated to like helping ensure quality by testing, then naturally you just can't be as excited to play the game anymore as you were previously. So
Exactly, pal.
So you'll play less in general and play more like focused like when there's some new change, testing that new change. I saw Animator in chat asking about Mac version. And they just clarified that on Steam. And the Well, the situation is that our Mac version is provided as is, so it's not a fully official version yet. So that's why it is not on Steam. So we don't accept money yet. However, like I talked about earlier on stream, in just a few weeks, I plan on putting the Mac version of Thrive on Steam. There's some launcher work and Mac notarization stuff for the launcher that needs to be done first, but we are pretty close to finally saying that Mac is a proper platform for Thrive, and at that point we'll put out a Steam announcement saying that Thrive is now on Mac, and you can buy it on Steam and get the Mac version as well. But that's not exactly yet, so you need to, for now, go to our GitHub and get the open source launcher version of the launcher, and then you can install that on your Mac and play the latest release. But in 2 weeks, all the Mac players can show their support for us taking the time to make the Mac version and pay the Mac developer fee to make a proper Mac version and support us by purchase. I hope that, yeah, that answers the question about the Mac status. There's a question about minimally playable macroscopic states. The chat, and well, when that happens is basically unknown. At the latest, it will happen once multicellular state is completed and our focus is on macroscopic.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me properly now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Welcome,
okay.
pal.
Pretty well.
Okay, good. What are we talking about?
Just answering some live stream chat questions. We've already answered all of the stream questions, so
Oh, nice. Very efficient.
Just doing some last 30 minutes of stream random chatting stuff.
I see. The best part.
I guess if you are here and you want to answer some chat questions, a little bit of Thrive.
Oh, okay. Give me a second to set up.
I think there was
view.
some kind of confusion in the chat about something.
Okay. Well, I will say now I've been lifting heavy stuff all morning. So if I sound stupid, it's probably because of that.
So
Okay, I can see everything. What did we answer last?
I answered a question about the Mac version status, that it's coming to Steam in like 2. And here on stream now I can show that when I locally playtest the game, this guidance line thing, it properly shows the color, but for some reason when the game is exported this just turns black, like and that randomly happens and randomly doesn't happen. So there's like some engine problem that shows up every now and then and causes headaches. So it's tired of this current system, and I want to redo it entirely. Hopefully it's something that doesn't turn black randomly.
Yeah, that line has been giving us problems for a while. Oh, here's an interesting question from Colchio, I think, if that's how you pronounce. If you could, with a push of a button, change into a different game engine, would you do it, and why?
I wouldn't, because there's basically no game engine that we could. Well, no open source or free game engine that is like more developed than Godot is.
I find it very poetic that how open source Thrive is. We use a very open source engine. It's kind of a meta commentary on where we're going and where Godot is going, I guess.
Though I guess if we did have a graphics programmer, we could in theory be using a lighter weight rendering abstraction library. But that would be a lot more engine work related to that, and we wouldn't have like a graphical editor that artists could easily make graphics and tweak stuff. Like that's one of the primary benefits of a fully featured like game engine, that it's an editor and graphics pipeline and all of that stuff. And then of course, unfortunately in Godot's case, there's a few very persistent hard bugs that trouble us, but well, I hope that the engine developers can eventually solve those. So eventually it will have been a perfect thing, Godot, but there's some rare hard bugs to solve.
I remember for a while we considered putting kind of a hit on the notorious bugs for Godot, with some of the funds we had, but they kind of got taken care of on their own time.
Yeah, they got solved. Though now there's just that one problem where eventually the game scenes stop loading. I don't think it doesn't seem to get any traction on the Godot issue tracker, and that's how I'm not sure what we are going to do. But that one problem was solved. I think perfectly happy with game engine.
The same thing. Animator asks, why did you choose Godot? Which we kind of explained. Open source engine kind of allows us to tackle whatever it is.
Yeah, basically it's the only open source game engine with an inbuilt editor for working on graphics, so that like graphics people can work on the game graphics without having to always ask a programmer to program in their stuff. And well, okay, there's a few other like such open source, especially now some years after we have switched. I think a few more new game engines have popped out, but basically in terms of like features and how many people are working on the engine, like Godot wins hands down.
And by the way, for the community, you don't need to be a graphics programmer or a graphics artist to contribute to that, because I really kind of like I was someone who really nagged for dynamic 3D backgrounds, and no one was paying attention to me over these years. So I decided at some point, let me look at tutorials and just try to mess with the shaders. And the result is the moving backgrounds that we see behind there. Obviously, I needed help to put it in and like make it properly work and everything. But you can kind of self-start a lot with Godot. It's very approachable. So if you really want to see something in Thrive, then maybe you can look up tutorials on YouTube for kind of similar game concepts and mechanics you see in other games, and then try to apply them to the code in Thrive.
Yeah, that's also a pretty good point, because the Godot community is so big. So there's a ton of tutorials out there, and well, we are doing our gameplay quite differently from normal Godot, but at least like all of the graphic stuff and GUI stuff is like pretty standard. So anyone who looks up Godot tutorials can then help out with Thrive, assuming they of course understand what's going on. But anyway, that's also another benefit of choosing a popular open source engine.
Mhm. There was good timing too, because that was when people got really mad at Unity. So there was a huge influx of talent from Unity to Godot, and we really kind of benefited from that. And Godot itself benefited from that, of course. Animator asks, Ascension mode is a stage where that if you can do what you want, like a sandbox. Yeah. As the premise of Ascension stage, you unlock the game, you fully completed it, and you did you did everything you're asked to do, and as a result, you get to kind of get these god tools that you can manipulate the universe with. Obviously, it's far in the distance in terms of time and effort, even being close at all to an ascension stage, but that's the ultimate. I think Ascension Stage 2 is something where you can kind of like contribute to it bit by bit, because as we advance through the different stages, you kind of can put in different kind of creative tools, and those can be potentially branched into the Ascension stage as we go along. So, but yeah, sandbox stage basically.
I saw someone like maybe on the forums or Discord was complaining that why do we have Ascension? Why not just let you be a space empire forever and decide when you are bored? Well, I basically said that I think it's pretty good idea to have like an ending in quotes for the game. Like we can show that, hey, you won, but you can keep playing with some fun tools if you want. Like I think that's pretty perfect for a sandbox game to still have kind of an ending.
Yeah.
Ending rather than not having any endings.
I think also with Thrive, we kind of make it so that if you want to stay in a specific stage, you can if you want to. Conceptually, like even with a Microbe stage, being more simple, you can still stay as a prokaryote for your entire being. You can still stay as a eukaryote, yada yada. So if you want to just stay in the space stage, just stay in the space stage. But in terms of progression, it makes sense to have something kind of end somewhere.
It would be interesting, in my opinion, and pretty convoluted too, if we had kind of like bad endings to the stages. Like for example, I think I brought up the fact that obviously there is still the parasite, kind of side during the microbe stage, and maybe a bad ending could be that the microorganism becomes a parasite or something like that, or in multicellular it could be something related, but always that it lets you stay in the stage, but like you basically can switch to another stage, and we can that in my opinion could be interesting. But
I can't get it. I get. I'm sorry.
Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, I think I know what you mean, where you kind of there's like win conditions for a stage basically, and you can go for these win conditions and kind of like quote unquote win that stage, but still proceed to the next stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of like achievements, but interesting. That could be interesting, yeah. It kind of reminds me of how in Spore, like there's an achievement for unlocking every single part that you can possibly unlock. Whereas you don't need to do that in actual like Spore itself, but it's like a fun little task you can give yourself to really kind of do everything there is to do in the cell stage.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
Also,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. Also, yeah, with the maybe even trying to develop viruses, even if we don't know that technically if they are living organisms or same for like other kind of, there is like a unicellular living organisms. I don't know what their name is, but they are big, they are like a algae kind of stuff, and we could work around to that too, and translate them into game, and add different ending based on what you choose to become. That would be very difficult to implement, but it will pay off very nicely, in my opinion.
Maybe, yeah. If there's enough demand and it like integrates smoothly enough. But I think with virus gameplay itself specifically, I think it's just it ultimately is very simple. I think viruses are much less like morphologically and adaptationally like complex than a cell or like a macroscopic organism. So the goal will kind of be the same. It's kind of like a mini game almost, where the goal is kind of consistent and present.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
I think, like, Animator asks, could the Microbe stage end in this year and more? And how many years have passed when the studio started the Microbe stage? The Microbe stage very well could end. This year, yes.
Already talked about on stream that I think I talked about that the plan is still to complete Microbe stage this year, but it might be like just in time for Christmas, like 1.0.
Yeah.
Because I think we need to have at least one polishing release after, like basically all features are done. So I think like in October we might have all features done, but I think we should still take one more release cycle to polish any rough edges. And for example, ask the community like, what's still problem? Do you notice anything? Say any feedback about the Microbe stage in general? And we'll see what we can still.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that. As to how many years have passed since starting the Microbe stage, it's a long story. I guess like technically 2011, but in terms of having a paid developer on the team, it's what, 2021, 2022?
Yeah, 2021. One is when we had, when I started like at 60% work week. I think.
Okay.
I think it was 2021. Well, I mean, one another point is that in 2020 we had the last engine change, so we remade.
Oh yeah.
Or I basically remade the entire game in Godot in like 2 months, I think. That was pretty crazy to redo the entire game and manage to do it in 2 months. That goes to show how quite polished the Godot engine actually is.
Yeah.
I was able to like find all of the needed features and convert the stuff in just 2 months.
I remember, I don't know when this was, maybe 2017, 2018. Like, it was like the most kind of depressing year for Thrive because there was a huge engine shift and there was absolutely like no progress coming out besides the fact that the entire game was just being translated, by volunteers to a completely different engine. And it took, I don't know how long, but it took a really long time. I remember the community was like very, very like quiet and like upset by that.
Sorry, did you mean the 2016 or?
Maybe. Leviathan Augur?
Yeah.
Is that the engine's name?
Yeah, I mean the situation when 0.3.2 came out, like that was still made by the previous programmers, but then they disappeared and things really slowed down. And I think it was like 1 year plus between 0.3.2 and 0.4.0, which was the release where I had taken over and converted the game to Leviathan,
Hmm.
and then made a release. So basically, people had to wait like a year plus, and then not get basically any new features.
Yeah. I remember.
That was a very different time in Thrive development history.
Absolutely. I remember, I heard of Thrive like much before that point, but it was still kind of like in the heavy like dreamy conceptualization stage, basically, with all the concepts. And I remember hearing about that period, and that was kind of when like all the whispers of, oh, Thrive will never be complete, Thrive is always like a kind of a vaporware game. That's when that kind of like really set in for a lot of the large community. And ever since then, I feel like it's been like becoming a lot harder to say that Thrive will. Well, obviously, it being complete is a whole other thing. But the fact that it's making significant progress has really been kind of a revolution in the past 2 years, especially. So.
Yeah, I think the general sentiment is that it's going to take really long time to develop anything, but
Yeah.
it at least seems like we are going to be able to finish the Microbe stage and eventually complete the game.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone thinking that like there's never going to be anything and life is not worth looking at.
Yeah. Animator asks, in the space stage, the player should unite all civilization, right? And also says, clarifies your civilization is all the planet divided, and countries you should unite them before the space stage. Gaming Bolas. Bosa, is that you from the development team? If that's Gaming Bolas, but
might be at least they have been saying that they are a developer, so it might be Bosa.
Oh, okay.
At least that's the only person I can.
You would hope so.
Think of. Yeah, and actually, Provea, one of the really early programmers, I think popped in chat for a little bit.
Oh wow!
And I was luckily able to say that we have seen the light and switched back to ECS architecture, so I think they were happy.
Wow, it'd be nice to see. Sorry to delay answering the question, Animator, but it'd be very nice to see like a really wholesome thing to like try to get in contact with all the older programmers and say, hey, look where your baby is, like how far your baby has come along in terms of the project.
I think many do every few years see what's going on, kind of passively following.
Yeah, 1.0, I think.
I just got the most boring meteor event in the game. Just a plain meteor that just adds CO2 and nothing else. Well, this is a very good showcase of the new feature game.
There we go. Okay, to answer the question, the Animator. We haven't conceptualized that far yet, but I think having a condition of uniting all your planet into like a global empire kind of is like a pretty limited interpretation of a spacefaring like nation. Because right now we're kind of in the space stage technically with our own like real life civilization, and we're still incredibly divided. And there's a lot of like sci-fi universes elements where there isn't this united kind of like the assumption of unity on Earth is kind of like not made. For example, with like the Alien series, it's all these corporations that are really kind of pushing it forward instead of the countries. In Halo, there's a lot of civil wars. Stellaris kind of deals with a lot of that stuff. So that might not be like a very like that assumption might not be like necessary for that stage. At least I don't think it's necessary.
Well, I personally, from a programming standpoint, I kind of want that limitation, at least initially, because then we don't have to simulate empire conflicts like that. Like you need to add like 20 new features to the game to like support multiple cultures within single empire that might split or war with each other. So I think that should be on the table, but shouldn't be like the first feature to do. So we can much more quickly make like the later space stage.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, also like our our concept of focus in terms of who is the protagonist in the civilization stage and the space stage, yada yada. It might not be like fully in terms of you're in control of this specific nation, yada yada. Because in real life society and culture and things like that, it's a lot more fluid. It evolves a lot more, yada yada. But obviously we'll need to kind of balance that out with one, ease of implementation, and two, like how easy it is to conceptualize some stuff.
For example, on the forums, people want to be able to overthrow and then lead a rebellion resistance against the new government and then retake their empire that way. And that just sounds like an absolute ton of new features to simulate all of that stuff.
Yeah, maybe we can abstract some of that, but it'll be hard to like kind of take control of like individual historical like agents. I think it's more like trends and like patterns rather than like you're the individual protagonist, But who knows? Builderboy 2 asks, will you guys ever hold a playtesting session, or does all the feedback from the community remove the value in playtesting? By playtesting, do you think they mean like release a version that is like, hey, we messed with this, we want feedback from the community, like ahead of release? Is that what you mean, Builderboy?
That can be interpreted quite many times. Like for example, Deus has organized like two developer hangout sessions where we played Thrive and observed what happened, and we of course found many bugs, so that was kind of like a game playtesting session.
Yeah.
And of course each public test release 1 week before the release, those always like there's not been a single one of those where no bugs have been found. So there's always when we put out a version of Thrive, the wider audience, someone discovers something, like for example the bug where you can get to the editor and the editor shows like the X on you and that you are dead or extinct, and then you cannot save and stuff like that. I think I probably fixed that for the full release.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. No one actually gave me the external effects section when that happened, so I can't be for certain if what I fixed was the actual problem that people. But I was able to actually replicate the effect using that thing I fixed, so even if that wasn't the problem, I did fix a similar problem in the game.
Long story short, if you guys are good at finding bugs in games, you can apply to be a tester for the game, the team.
Yeah, we actually don't have any active testers, so it'd be like really handy to have someone who can within like 24 hours when a new pull request test that it does what it says on the tin and doesn't accidentally break something like saving or stuff like that.
Oh, but Builderboy clarified, I was kind of imagining the kind of playtesting that Valve used to do, where they watched random people play their game for the first time. I want to make my... Oh, go ahead.
Well, YouTube videos are kind of that. Like whenever we see new player playing on YouTube, I always watch those with very great interest. Those are very interesting. Like that's basically a playtesting session like that. And I think it would be pretty hard to find people to do that like in any other way.
Yeah, those YouTube playthroughs are very, very useful for us. It's like kind of like starts a lot of conversation. I mean, especially the past release cycle where we focused on the tutorial. That was really, really like a source of discussion. But in general, like it helps us know like where the player is at, what they understand, where they kind of see, where they get less engaged with the game, like so on and so on. Cold Chio asks, why do sometimes cells emit some clouds from them? That usually happens if you're engulfing something like iron or another cell, and you have full storage of the compound that you would receive from that chunk. So for example, if you have like full iron storage and you're consuming an iron bit, like an iron chunk, the excess iron would be emitted from you because you're not going to be able to take it in. So you release a trail of the compounds that you cannot store.
Yeah, and of course, if there's any other way, another situation that would cause a cell to have way more of some compound than it can store, it will have to eject it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the most common situation. But there's others. I think I'll eat my way to the surface to try to maybe show off the glacier.
Have we had a playthrough session live without cheating?
I think some of the early streams had that, but
Yeah, well, now we're jaded, so.
well, I mean, because there's rarely something that I haven't shown like on stream. Like then, well, I guess I could make a save like before the stream to show off some new stuff, but I think it's more efficient to cheat on stream to
Yeah.
get to the new stuff. And for example, on the surface, like all of these water currents are way stronger than bottom, so there, like this glucose cloud really goes fast with the current here.
Mm. There's a debate on whether or not googly eyes should be implemented in the cell stage, I think.
I guess Buckley needs to update the googly eye mod.
And there's an Easter egg, actually. There's a googly eye thing somewhere in the Microbe stage. If you play enough, you may find it. So
I had considered doing an update of the googly eye mod and actually maybe making it one with 3D eyes on stalks.
Nice.
In terms of whether that would actually be in the game, it would only be in macroscopic. It doesn't make any sense for cells to have like fully functional eyeballs separate from the rest of them. It's
you would think so, right?
yeah, it's a weird thing about the start of Spore that the cell stage it's always multicellular. There's not really a single-celled organism in there.
Yeah. Builder Boy asks another question. On the topic of releasing resources, will we ever be able to intentionally release our resources to attract prey? You can kind of do that now because you can inject engulfed chunks and like digested organelles. Compounds, yeah, that you can't do that yet. And that's kind of like a difficult thing to program, I think. It's kind of like, a pretty niche situation to involve yourself in, intentionally starving your cell to attract a cell. But you can, if someone's willing to program that, maybe. But
I think we should first look at what players think of the process panel now being forced to be open.
yeah, that's true.
But the tutorial, and it says that an advanced gameplay tactic is to toggle the resources. So, like if people are willing to toggle the processes and stuff like that as advanced gameplay tactics, then I think we might consider dumping resources. A viable thing because at one point it was that if you added a few chloroplasts, you could just eject glucose all over the place. But then people reported that as a bug like very often. So that's why we currently have it so that cells basically cannot produce so much resource that they would be forced to eject it. They scale down the production to go over the storage capacity.
That makes sense.
I guess if everyone promised that they would not report it as a bug, then I guess we could make it so that if you have too much glucose production, it would get ejected.
Start a petition. By the way, we've reached 3 o'clock. I guess we'll take one more question and then we call it.
Yeah, it's
Please.
about time to end the stream. I'll see if I can really quickly trigger the glaciation event.
Okay.
Enough oxygen now. So spam through this, but yeah. Let's see if anyone wants to ask like one more question in chat or
There's
good on that front.
okay, 2 quick questions. I think we can answer pretty quickly. Krovia asks, has there been discussions about streaming development on Twitch? Would probably be one of the best ways to attract new programmers, in my opinion. Would it?
Well,
I feel like it'd be pretty boring.
well, I mean, I have done one Thrive programming stream on YouTube, and people have been every now and then asking when that's going to happen again. And well, I guess I technically could do another one, but I always feel like very busy. And of course, when you are programming on stream, like you are going to be less effective. So
I'd like to join that, guys, if you do it again, you know.
yeah, definitely. The last time, like I announced it like 8 hours before the stream, so I think this time we should do it with a bit more lead up and ask when people would be able to join.
Okay, so the
That's
programmers
great.
might do something like that. Krovia also adds that YouTube discovery is poor. Twitch discovery in the game development category is much better. So that's something you can, put in. They also suggest put Spore and Godot in the tile and get programmers swinging by. So that's their tips to you. And the last question is, will different currents from Frizz4, will different currents change based on seasons? Like dead matter gets deep underwater in one season and gets back up to feed photosynthesis in another season. I think in the Microbe stage, time is too abstract to think in terms of seasons. It's kind of like a abstract representation of millions of years of evolution happening on your screen whenever you're playing in the Microbe stage. There have been concepts for randomly changing currents. For example, there was an earthquake event proposal where during live gameplay the currents would randomly like switch completely and flip around. But in terms of seasonality, that's something that isn't considered yet in the Microbe stage.
I managed to get the global glaciation event to trigger. Now there's only 50% light and the temperature is down, so we need to adjust that. And if we go back into the stage, this is the ice background, and I think we have ice chunks.
Yeah.
Some more, let's see.
Patrick mentioned, if that's his name, sorry if I mispronounced. They mentioned that.
Large ice.
Nice.
I guess I'll just die to this end. Hard to die to this ice. I guess that's a good.
There was one update I remember where people were really complaining about how you can run into. Actually, I think it was me complaining on the community forums way back then when I wasn't a developer. But like you could bump into a tiny ice particle and just get like blown up basically. So
yeah, I think I rescaled the damage values done differently, like when doing the ECS refactoring, like the damage dealing system was done like entirely differently, like how the math works out. So I think it's a lot slower to damage you when you touch ice.
I was thinking about adding some bigger ice chunks into the game.
yeah, that'd be cool.
But I was thinking in terms of the damage, maybe for really big chunks of ice, it might be better to not have them damage you. I don't know. Considering that sort of otherwise, if it's turning around and so on, that could kind of potentially cause issues where it's difficult for the player to actually get away from it.
I think if we deal with that, like how we discussed terrain earlier, where we have these huge like items which don't really like move around that much, which act as terrain, and we have the ice be the terrain for the frozen patches. It's fine to have them damaged as long as they're not like rotating quickly, moving quickly. Now they might move a bit, but I think it could be interesting.
Yeah.
Right. That was
I guess with the physics, the moving chunks, you can kind of change the weight effectively, right? So it could make it only move very little.
You can change the density of stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, in the case of ice, if we go realistic, the ice should be less dense than 1000, so it's less dense than water.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Realism. Ugh.
Anyway, do we have any one last question? Scythe has been played. Everything has been answered. Been over 2 hours.
Animator asks, the studio is of what continent? International, but it's based in Europe.
Yeah, legally based in Finland. But
Finland, yes.
well, we have volunteers from everywhere.
Woohoo Europe! Exclamation mark from Kosia.
I guess with that we can end the stream. Thanks everyone for joining, and Deus for, well, you were pretty late, but thanks for showing up. I had to actually start the stream myself because there was no one else except me and revolutionary music in the first few minutes, but luckily some more people showed up, so thanks everyone for showing up, and thanks everyone for the questions and other stuff, and I look forward to seeing feedback on the release.
Absolutely. Thank you to our community for putting us in this position. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So we look forward to feedback and hope you guys enjoy the release.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.
Let's say bye, and I'll stop the stream. Bye everyone.
Bye.
See you guys.